Hello everyone, this is Jen Espinosa-Goswami. Thank you for joining me here on my personal Facebook page. I actually had some things come up in regards to my business and being a health coach, and I really wanted to address these because I think a lot of people are under certain misconceptions about their relationship with food, and I just wanted to bring a little bit of clarity and a little bit of light around certain quotes and phrases that I've been hearing lately that really bug the heck out of me. So again, this is my personal opinion, but I do think that a lot of people misuse or misconstrue their relationship with food. So I wanted to hop on really quick and let you know my perspective on this. So the title of this live is "You Are Not an Addict." The other day, I was noticing a person in a group that I follow. This is a weight loss support group, and this person has been doing fantastic, has been making fantastic progress. She's doing all the right things. She's moderating her intake, what she's eating. She's exercising more frequently. She's doing all the right things. And recently she had posted something about, I'm going to go on a 14 days of no junk food scenario, which, you know, you see these things happen all the time. It pops up on Facebook. There's challenges going on. You see it all the time, right? 14 days of no sugar, 7 days of no solid food, you know, the liquid diet kind of thing, 21 days of all vegetables and no meat. I mean, you hear these challenges and these detoxes and these cleanses all the time. Now, here's my problem with these kinds of things. First of all, I asked this woman, I said, well, interesting, you were doing so well, so why do you think you felt the need to go on this 14 days of no junk food? And let me clarify what junk food meant. She had a little picture of the different categories that classified as junk food, and one of them was bacon. I don't know about you, but there aren't too many people that I know that consider bacon to be a junk food necessarily, but I thought that was curious, and I just wanted to throw that out. But I asked her, I said, well, why do you think it's important for you to be on this 14 days of no junk food kind of situation? And what she said was, because I'm addicted to junk food. Is that really what's going on here? And I'm speaking as someone who used to eat upwards of 3,000 calories a day. I ate a lot. I never once told myself that I was addicted to food, and yet I would consistently eat a lot of food. So I got curious because I hear the word addiction a lot when it comes to food, especially sugar. You've seen some of those scientific studies out there that say, oh, sugar, you can get addicted to it. It treats your brain the same as cocaine, and it's just as bad for you as cocaine, and sugar is the devil, and all these things. Those studies aside, I'm not going to go into the benefits or the disadvantages of sugar in this particular talk, but are we really addicted to food? So I got curious, and being the little researcher and analyst that I am, I took a look into the medical definition of addiction. And here's what it said. One of the characteristics, the main and first characteristic that it listed, was an inability to consistently abstain from a certain behavior. They also identified it as a chronic disease that has moments of recovery and relapse. This is the medical definition of addiction. This is not just your neighbor saying, I'm addicted to sugar or I'm addicted to junk food. This is the medical definition of addiction. It is an inability to consistently abstain. Now, here's the interesting thing about food. We need to eat to live. I don't care whether you're eating macaroni and cheese all day long or you're eating kale all day long. We do need to eat something in order to get through our day. We cannot abstain entirely from food. It's just impossible, right? We just can't do it. Hi, Edmay. Thanks for joining us today. I'm talking about food and addiction and my perspective on what that actually means. Feel free to pop your comments in there. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this conversation. So I just went over the medical definition of addiction, and it says inability to consistently abstain. Obviously, we can't abstain from food, right? It's not like a drug. It's not like alcohol where you can put yourself in environments where you avoid those things, right? You can tell all your friends, I'm not drinking. I don't want to have access to any certain things. You can't do that with food. Food is around us all the time. But is eating food, especially certain types of food, is that a chronic disease? I'm not certain. We need to eat food to live. And there are other factors that have to do with the medical definition of addiction as well. I mean, there's a physical tie to it, there's a psychological tie to it. You're dependent upon it. So here's the thing. When I was eating upwards of 3,000 calories a day, I love to eat. I mean, who doesn't love to eat? And when we talk about things like sugar and foods that we know are not necessarily good for us or the healthiest for us, let's look at biology a little bit. When we're babies and we're drinking breast milk from our moms, we actually crave sugar. Breast milk is composed mostly of sugar and fat. Does that mean as babies we're addicted to sugar? No, there are biological reasons why we're having breast milk that's full of sugar and fat. Sugar because it tastes good and you're going to want to drink more of it, and fat because it's good for your brain development. So when it comes to food and addiction, you may be setting yourself up for failure if you start to identify with certain foods as an addiction. Sure, we enjoy eating it, and there are psychological reasons that we eat food, especially if you're a stress eater, if you're an emotional eater, if you're someone who eats for reasons other than hunger. I used to eat for reasons other than hunger all the time. If I was sad, if I was happy, if things weren't going well in my life. Hi, Holly. Thanks for joining. We're talking about food addiction. Is it the real deal, or what is it really? Feel free to pop your comments or questions in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. So most of us love to eat, right? I mean, there's at least one or two foods that we're in love with. And if we don't have it, we feel like we're suffering, and we crave certain things during certain times a month. You know, us ladies especially, we crave certain foods at certain times a month. Does that mean we're addicted to those foods? Yes, there's probably a psychological aspect to that. But like I mentioned, addiction is something where you literally cannot consistently abstain. There's never a time in our life when we should consistently abstain from food. You know, some sort of food. We need food to live. And it's interesting because when it comes to relapse, so folks who go on these challenges where they detox or they abstain from certain foods that they identify as trigger foods, what happens at the end of that time period? You go back to eating the food that was a trigger food for you. Because it's natural, right? That's what we as humans do. We have a deadline on something. At the end of that deadline, we go back to whatever we were doing before. That's how habits work, right? You're not going to change a habit in 14 days, in 7 days. There was a family that actually abstained from all types of sugar in a year. After a year's time, they actually didn't like the taste of sugar. Does that mean they weren't addicted at the beginning of that year? You be the judge. Were they really addicted to sugar, and then when they abstained for a whole year and decided that as a family they decided not to do sugar anymore, does that mean they weren't really addicted? Or does it mean that the reasons why they were reaching for sugar was because it was easily available, it's in most of the foods that we eat on a daily basis, and they didn't have a lot of awareness around it? That's where reading food labels comes in handy. That's where understanding why you do what you do and why you eat what you eat is very important. Not because you're addicted to it and because you physically or psychologically cannot abstain from it. No, that's not the reason why you make the healthy changes you make in your life. You make the healthy changes you make in your life because you know that at the end of the day, there is a benefit to you, that you will feel good, that you will feel healthy. And that is something worth getting addicted to. And that is something that can become chronic for you. So this is just my short little perspective on sugar and food. And is there such a thing as an addiction? I'm not speaking as a psychologist or as a doctor, but I did look up the medical definition of addiction. It's being unable to consistently abstain from something. We all know we can't get rid of food. It's there, it's lovely, it's pleasurable, it's awesome. We cannot abstain from food. It's just impossible. So, and then in terms of our psychological impact and our connection to food, it's there. Food is love. You know, some of us eat when we're upset. That is there. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't break that habit and that pattern to find a chronically healthy lifestyle that you can love. This is Jen. Thank you for joining me today. And I will be creating a brand new free Facebook group called Weight No More, WEIGHT. I'd love to have you join me. Well, we'll talk about things about food, like food addiction and sugar addiction. We'll discover ways to decrease your dependence on these types of foods that are not supporting your health goals. We'll share some recipes. We'll share some exercise tips that you can do at home without purchasing a bunch of equipment. None of those $2,000 treadmills that you use for your laundry to dry your laundry on. We will talk about real, sustainable, practical tips that you can use on a daily basis to really improve your daily habits so that you live a life that's healthy, happy, and peaceful. What more can we ask for? So thank you for joining me today. This is my discussion on addiction and when it comes to food. Keep tuned to my my website page, Be Weightless, if you want to join my brand new Facebook group. It's not open yet, but make sure you comment on this post if you want to join that, or send me a message. I'd love to invite you to join this new group. Thank you for joining me, and have a great day.